We're here in London at the World Blockchain Forum, and we're joined again by another two delegates. And if you could please introduce yourselves and your company.
Okay. Hi, my name is Dion Croom, and I am the founder and CEO of the Creative 3D Web PLC.
Hi, my name is Stefan Dejanovic. I'm a product technical advisor for the Creative 3D company.
So, if one of you or both of you perhaps could talk about your business model and why you implemented blockchain technology into your business.
Okay, basically, the Creative 3D Web is a company that, well, if you go back to our mission statement, is the edge of freedom. And the reason why we say the edge of freedom, when we look at how we currently interact with the web, it relates to a problem that goes back to the beginning of the web. How do you create a link between the physical space in which we live and the virtual space, which is the web? They've always been trying to create that link because we are now currently dealing in the physical space. We shook hands, we met. That's lost now in the web. How do we interact with each other? Even if you look at a website, and people who own websites, they always ask the question, how can I have a more engaging way of dealing with my clients and customers? So what we're doing with the Creative 3D Web is we're building a new web interface. In other words, soon you will walk through websites. You'll no longer point and click. So if you look at the current way that people access the web, they use a mouse and it's click, click, click. But imagine if you can, instead of click, 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 literally when you move your mouse, you walk through web space. Look at the potential. This is not VR, but a new browser technology. We convert our users into an avatar, and then that avatar now has a digital footprint that is now walking through an environment. So we can take any physical location, like we can recreate this building. We can take any flat website and turn it into a 3D website where your clients literally will walk through your page, will sit down like we're doing using browser technology. So what are we doing with the technology? It's three browsers in one. It's an environmental browser. It's a 3D search engine. And the most powerful element of it is a 3D social network. Now we're adding a blockchain layer. What do I mean by that? What if you can take the web as we know it? I mean, it's almost like Morpheus from, the Matrix. The web, you can't touch it. But what if you can put a layer on top of it, a solid layer, and then take individuals or take avatars and put them on top of that? You create the potential of creating whole new environments or worlds. So we're using the technology in five key industries. It is in education. Soon teachers will be able to take children on 3D field trips to the Tate, Cairo Museum of Natural, as browser, using the browser. We are using it in healthcare. We're currently now working on a platform that deals with online gambling addiction. So we're creating a virtual treatment environment, connecting in healthcare providers, connecting in e-gaming companies, and individuals in this 3D environment. That's our first use case. It's called Habat, that we're currently working on. And we have a city down the road. We're building a 3D version of Las Vegas. We're building a 3D travel net and a 3D social network. That's what we're using with the technology. But what's interesting in reference to blockchain, we already had those products in development. But ever since the blockchains came to my attention as CEO, we wanted to create a second layer and even a third layer. So now what we're integrating in our current ICO, which is creative3dweb.io, is we're putting this new blockchain layer underneath this virtual 3D layer and then locking it with biometrics. So what I'm gonna do is have Stefan explain the technical part, because I think he'll be able to explain why we're using blockchain technology in our current business model. Stefan.
Yeah, okay. So we are using a hybrid blockchain, not just a public one. We are mixing the public and private blockchains into one hybrid one. So actually that to provide the users the verifiable and a way that they can control their digital footprint in the new virtual environment. Because when you browse when you explore the web space, you can actually control the data that's your own in the blockchain way. So, and putting the everything underneath the private blockchain, we're trying to like connect with each of one of the blockchains that are outside and their coins to put them in our ecosystem and develop our own, unique ecosystem of our own cryptocurrency that can be, inside a virtual 3D world.
So that's the feature of linking all of those things together. And for instance, we first started on our journey of our ICO 2 weeks ago, and in the first day, we already had 1.2 million offered from a healthcare fund in reference to our first use case, which is Habat, which showed their extreme interest in how we linking all of these things together. So that's the beginning of how we are in this space.
Do you feel that what you're doing is almost as though it's the internet 3.0?
That's an interesting question. You have, and very pertinent, you had Web 1.0. That's when it was brochureware. All you did was interact while sites was giving you a bunch of brochure. Then you had more interacting with Web 2.0. Yeah, that was the launch of Google and all these different things. And that was the beginning of Facebook and Twitter. Now we have Web 3.0, which changes the game. This is where it becomes frightening, because in Web 3.0, you, the user, actually don't have to do anything. You walk by a store, next thing you know, your information is pushed to your mobile phone. It's almost intrusive. We're losing contact with each other. Everything, if you look at mobile phone usage, people actually think you're connected, but the truth is you're actually not connected. You're more isolated now than you ever was. We are losing the ability to communicate. In the physical space, we just met you and we're able to communicate and chat, shake hands. That's being lost in the web. The whole point of virtual 3D web is why we're changing the mode. We're now using creative technologies to allow for a more visual feel. By creating avatars, we are recreating what happens in the physical space, because my avatar can walk up to your avatar and interact. So it's actually a complete departure from the web 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. It is the virtual 3D web. It is its own infrastructure, its own technology and engine that creates virtual environments.
How can companies such as yours help benefit other businesses who want to do a similar thing as yours within your sector?
Well, again, what I've noticed in my journey around this space, in traditional worlds, you create synergies with other companies, with products that will benefit yours. I've noticed in my being in this space, you don't see a lot of other ICO projects talking about how you can create synergies together. The virtual 3D web is a platform. It's an engine. The idea of creating our own token economy is being built to do just that. So if you go back to my what I talk about, the virtual 3D web as a digital representation of the user, it is a top layer. By adding this blockchain layer underneath it, it allows for companies. So let's say you wanted to build a e-commerce shop and put it on the virtual 3D web. So you create a virtual store. But let's say you want to also do other blockchain dApp applications. You don't have to recreate a blockchain. You actually connect it to ours. So therefore you can create other apps connected to ours. But then we can also connect other ICO projects to ours because of the token ecosystem and also an exchange we're looking to build within the platform. But also don't forget, the most important element of all this is our security layer. We're using biometrics that locks the entire virtual 3D web. So yes, we are encouraging these relationships. Matter of fact, we are in talks with 5 other ICO companies that have not what I call competing products, but products that will enhance the virtual 3D web. So yes, we're actively seeking those type of relationships.
What's unique about your company over others within your realm?
Again, a very interesting question. Every business, you look at a SWOT analysis. traditionally you look at, okay, what are your strengths and your weaknesses? We are fortunate. There are not any other companies in this space. The closest thing that people connected us to is VR companies, virtual reality. This is not VR. I have a very strong view of where VR is going, and it's not exactly positive. And that's not the place to have this conversation, because VR is a complete detachment from reality. You're putting on glasses, you're locking off your ears, and you're immersing yourself in the environment. If you think you got addiction problems now, wait till that really kicks, because you are completely locked off. That's not where we want to position our browser. It's a browser. The fact that I can go on a laptop, I can go on a tablet, and I'm in control because I'm the mouse and my avatar is being moved. I'm in control. One of the examples I give in my talks and talking about VR is I'm from Brooklyn, New York. So I say that when I tell people put on the glasses and locked in, and while they're immersed, I say, I just stole your TV. The truth of that and impact of that is when you locked into that, you don't know what's going on around you. But at least in the virtual 3D web, as a browser, you are in complete control, although you are immersed in a virtual environment, but you are still in physical control. So what makes us unique? There's no one else in that space. You have game design companies looking at virtual worlds like World of Warcraft, Minecraft. Those are game design companies. But in a marketing space, we've taken that technology, added blockchain, and it will sit in a marketing space. We're the only one in that space.
If we could touch on virtual reality for just a little bit.
Okay.
Do you see, and you've alluded to this already, but do you see virtual reality and the link with a potential blockchain technology implemented as being more of a hindrance rather than one of benefit?
Okay, I got to be real careful here, because you're going to have some technos that'll turn around and say, what the hell are you talking about? I can only deal with the part of VR that frightens me. I've been in the game for a long time. And what frightens me most, one of our use cases is about addiction, gambling addiction, or gaming addiction. The biggest addiction that I see the world coming to is VR, addiction to VR, locked in a true virtual environment where you're completely detached from real world. That is frightening. All you got to do, and I don't know how many people out there may be connected to, but remember Matrix? That was the whole concept of being in the Matrix, but what was behind the Matrix was a very frightening thing it did. You imagine the number of people who are locked in virtual reality worlds, who are in pods, or who haven't eaten, who haven't done all these things simply because they're completely immersed. And I'm sorry to say, one of the key elements in my talks on VR is wait till the sex industry gets hold of it. You think we have addiction now? Or you think we have relationship problems now? Wait till that kicks in. You're going to see the collapse of interpersonal relationships, because people would rather be in an VR-induced environment than dealing with life in the real world.
Why do you think companies such as yours are so essential for blockchain projects?
You want to answer that one? Okay, essential for blockchain projects? It's hard because, first off, blockchain in itself is a technology. And I'm one of the, like I said, I'm old school technology. For me, it's not so much the technology, it's the application of technology. So the key issues for me with blockchain is, what are the applications to the end user? We can sit in a high bubble and say blockchain is all of this. But unless we start creating applications that help the man on the street and they actually can identify with that, then you got nothing. You can create the greatest blockchain in the world, but if no one's actually using it and interacting with it, it was pointless. So for me, that's what's missing between the technology and the man on the street. I am seeing very little of the blockchain technologies being translated into keep it simple, stupid for the man on the street. And until we do that, We all sitting in a high bubble of intellects and techno people, and we're in a bubble because the real life applications of these things are not there, because the average Joe on the street don't even know what we're talking about. And so it's very important for blockchain companies to look at how do we apply this technology to the average user on the street, and how you translate that in education. That is key to this whole new rising technology. And if we don't do that, for me, it's going to fizzle out, because people are just not going to use it or even understand why they need to use it.
Yeah. And also, like, our main project is the connecting the other tokens and other blockchains to our one. So involving them in our ecosystem and helping them, like connecting with them, and together creating a new ecosystem with many users and many blockchains mixed together, so we can all learn together about this new technology. So the fact is that a lot of the projects that are there don't know why are they using a blockchain from the beginning. Like, not every single project needs a blockchain. The first thing that you need to ask yourself is, when you're creating a project on a blockchain, do I actually need a blockchain? People, skip that question and just, go as a buzzword, creating a blockchain, creating a cryptocurrency, raising the money and everything. Don't realize that they cannot have sustainable tokenomics and sustainable ecosystem when they finish the project. Because a lot of the projects, most of them, like, how many projects are really actually successful after the launch, after the ICO is finished? How many are they really successful in launching a platform and a project? That's a real question and real issue, because people are forgetting that first question in the beginning of developing the whole project platform and everything they want to do. Yeah.
How do we bridge the gap then between the average Joe on the street and blockchain technology? If what you were just saying a moment ago, if it's too complicated, what's the way of bringing the gap together, or bridging the gap together for that matter?
Again, it's been done through history. When you brought any technology, there are those. A great copywriter can be used to turn around and take something highly technical and put it in simple language that the guy on the street can understand. How many people understand the true workings of a mobile phone? But you look at all the technology packed into a tiny smartphone. Does the average person on the street understand all of that? They just need to know they need to press this and do that and press that button, start talking. So there are copywriters and people out there that help to take that high technology and compress it down to being simple. There's education. It's how in marketing, and that's where a lot of these companies get their marketing departments. Okay, how do we humanize this technology so the average person can use it? For instance, for us, and doing that, my background initially is inside of education. I understand the process. In our virtual worlds, we're creating virtual schools. We already are looking at, 'cause one of the key questions in looking at how do you sustain these virtual 3D worlds, well, a lot of people ask the question, well, Dion, what's your scalability model and your delivery model? Who's going to build all these virtual environments? It's just like it was when Cisco introduced the Cisco network. When they first started Cisco, there wasn't enough Cisco network engineers. They had problems. How can they grow networking if there was no one to integrate these networks into companies? So what did Cisco do some 25 years ago? They started Cisco Network Academy program. They created a whole training program and delivered it into schools for free. And the model was they were able to take people who maybe were not good in the classroom, were good with their hands though, and gave them that training. And what did Cisco do? All they had to do was pass the test, instant jobs. I was part of that way back in the day without giving my age too much. But we're doing that with the Creative 3D Web. We're setting up our own schools to teach creative skill sets, working with things like DAZ Studio, working with things like Unreal Engine, Unity, and you look at Reallusion. These software packages have training programs, so we're setting up our own schools, doing the same thing what Cisco did. Was as soon as people were able to pass, we give them jobs. Because to give you an example, the Habat environment will probably take 260 creative people to sustain the building of that virtual environment. That's 260 jobs. And where are we going to get those people? We're growing them, we're developing them and giving them jobs. So it's not only just taking blockchain technology, we're taking that bit, adding these other normal business structures and developments, putting it together, and then, like I said, providing jobs and training. So that's how we do it, by interacting our own training programs and putting these training institutes in various other countries as we grow this network.
Do you think that Creative 3D Web will be sustainable and be able to run in years from now? Do you see this as being a long-term project and not just for the short and medium term? I guess what I'm trying to ask is that do you see this as a growing trend or a nascent trend, if you like?
Well, that happened with the introduction of Facebook, didn't it? Way back in the day, people say, are you going to be around next year? We are not building a product. All of our use cases are not products, they're systems. We are building a new platform, a new interaction tool. So if you take the virtual 3D web, it's not just about our company's products. You can put a store in there. The average man on the street can say, yeah, I want to build a 3D e-commerce shop. They can do that. So the longevity of our platform is directly related to the usefulness of the platform to the average user. Long as an average user can continue to use it, then the growth of it. Let me give you an example, our education project, where you're talking about soon teachers being able to take children on 3D field trips to the Tate, Cairo Museum of Natural History. Long as we can recreate physical environments and then transport the user into these environments to interact and engage and meet, then you've created longevity. Long as the platform continues to be useful to the average user, then the platform will stay. One of the questions is, if you use the virtual 3D web, it's my own personal space. Yeah, for instance, we have a 3D social network that we are building called True Room, and it's a true 3D social network, because you can create your own environment. We have 45 to 50 specific environments that at a click of a button, it can be a football stadium. That's your personal space. And inside of that, you have digital assets that you can put there. The vision in our social network is you now invite people into your space and interact. Long as that remains useful and relevant, then you've got longevity. By linking the blockchain and the token economy, and therefore by creating connected environments where that token economy can cross over from one environment to the next, the idea for us is that we are building that sustainability model and scalability.
Where do you think we are right now with regards to the blockchain space? Do you still think we're in the ground floor, so to speak?
I'm going to pass this one on to Stefan in a minute. But like I said, I'm from Brooklyn. I kind of tell it like it is. To me, this is like the Wild Wild West. It's still virgin territory. There are still massive opportunities. There are going to be shakeups, and that's what's starting to happen. But it's those companies and those individuals who are true to this movement that will weather those storms. We got rising prices, people talking about dumping. We got all these different buzzwords that are making people frightened, but the technology itself will remain true. Let's stay focused on that. There are elements of ICO and value of doing an ICO or creating a currency. We all have different views, but the technology itself, a blockchain, will ride through the storm. It will settle itself. So that's my personal view. But what do you think, Steph?
Yeah, exactly. Technology as itself is gonna be sustainable, is gonna be here like for a long time. Like every single technology is gonna be here. Like, and then future technologies might be even better. But blockchain will always have its use somewhere. It's not gonna be it's not gonna be just ICOs and cryptocurrencies, because that's a bubble that it's probably gonna burst somewhere in the near future. But technologies itself, we're gonna find its use somewhere in the market, definitely. But right now, I think we're still in exploring the real, usage of the blockchain. So that needs to be explored even more, because right now the whole world is focused on the ICOs and cryptocurrencies and the public blockchains, but you have a private blockchains as well, like supply and demand, and then like every other field you can like healthcare, you can benefit a private blockchain, you can implement it in the institutions and stuff like that. So definitely that needs to be explored more.
I want to move on to this subject of cryptocurrencies, and I was wondering if you could share your thoughts on them on a wider scale, pertaining to your business, but also the bigger picture as well, and what the future is for them, and maybe even a prediction of, price of where Bitcoin and others could potentially go as well.
Well, that's an explosive question, because everybody's going to create a justification for their token or for their coin. I mean, I was reading something today, and just as you starting to ask that, I was trying to remember the definition of currency, as it is in the dictionary, and I'm now paraphrasing because I can't exactly remember the statement. But when you look at the definition of currency, one of the definitions that is put is a unit of measure of notes and coins as it relates to the issuance in a country. Yeah, that was the definition of currency. And there's a constant question: is these tokens, or is these utilities or coins, is it currency? Well, this is the challenge that many people are facing. But with us and our business model, we are a virtual world. We're a closed environment. So if you say, how do you define a city? Well, we have citizens, we have users who are avatars that walk on our virtual 3D environments and worlds, interconnected worlds. We have commerce. We have a lot of the elements that define a city. So in this very statement, we could say our avats token is in fact a currency in our virtual environment, because its price will be based off of market movements within that virtual environment. So as people are buying and trading digital assets that move within our virtual economy, it's establishing its price. Now, this is the question, because we have so many tokens, we have so many coins, we have so many different things that talk about cryptocurrency. Again, how are you interconnecting all of those other things? Because I started ICO and say, I think my currency is going to be the best, or my token. How does it relate to other usage? Hence why you're seeing a lot of, what you call these things, exchanges trying to pop up, because they're trying to create some joinier of all these currencies. But it's got to be connected to something. There's got to be an ecosystem that people are actually using to create value. If that doesn't exist, then I don't actually see the purpose of creating tokens and coins when there is not connected to some type of ecosystem. That's my humble opinion. I've not been in the game long enough, but that's just me and my common sense of it. But what do you think?
Okay. But so like regards to the cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the ones who like are the number one and number two in the world, like the problem is that it's a their blockchain is huge. The transactions are really getting slow, and like it's like comparing to the automobile industry. Like when you have a first vehicle, Bitcoin can be compared to that. So any other cryptocurrency in the future is gonna be even better and even better. So Bitcoin is gonna be like a example, like first coin that was out there, but probably in the near future some new coin will arise that's gonna be like the number one currency that's going to be there. So probably like that something.
How do you see the future of blockchain in the medium and the longer term?
Again, it's just like any technology. It's going to be based off of the successful implementation of marketing to the end user. It's like I said earlier, you've got to make this technology human so that the user will actually use it. That's going to be the true test of the longevity of blockchain projects. Let me just not say blockchain, but blockchain projects. Because without the users, I don't care what technology you have, you got nothing. 1 + 1 is still 1 + 1 is 2. That's just two people. That's it. So the more people can take the technology and apply it to the guy on the street where they're using it and familiar with it, that's when you got growth, and that's where you got sustainability of the technology, in my opinion.
Yeah. So another thing is, okay, the blockchain in his future, definitely mixing technologies together will be the future. Like blockchain is itself, okay, it's just a ledger, a database where you store the data. Okay, it's transparent, verifiable. But the problem with the blockchain is that it can not go outside of the blockchain and gather data by itself. So mixing technologies, like putting Internet of Things, connecting that to the blockchain, like Internet of Things being that mechanism that is going to supply the blockchain with data, that probably can be the future of mixing the technologies and arise to something new and something improved and better.
Yeah, it's just to tie on that. One of the features of our 3-in-1 technology linking blockchain is just that. You take the blockchain as we know it, and you've seen the stories about the blockchain being hacked and people losing their private keys and then losing all of their wealth and things like this. One of the key concerns in this space is security. And so even with us, we've researched this and looked at it, and we've linked, just as Stefan said, we've linked technologies together. So what we're now integrating is we're integrating game design technologies, creative technologies. We're linking that with the blockchain, two technologies, and now we're linking biometrics as a technology, and then melding that together or merging that together to create something altogether new. They're three separate technologies interacted to make something stronger. There's an old statement in the Bible, 3 cords intertwined together, you can't break. Something single on its own, with enough pressure, you can break it. But when you intertwine, for us, the 3 things here, game design, like I said, the biometrics and blockchains, and link that together, that strength inside of that. So just as Stefan said, the survival for me of blockchain is its ability to interact with other technologies to create something new that's usable for end users.
And to wrap this up, can you give any advice to any aspiring business people who want to use blockchain technology in their business, and how they can benefit from doing what you do?
I think the only advice I can turn around and give is do your homework. First, understand what your business model is. That's the key thing. Bringing in any technology into your business model takes careful consideration. You must understand the technology, understand how it's going to link into what you already existing have or want to create. And the biggest thing, seek the proper advice, seek the proper sources. Now, trust me, there are a lot of charlatans out there. There are a lot of people who promise grandiose things. But if you're fortunate enough to keep digging through, you will find the right kind of people. For me and my company and the structure, we found Stefan, and his knowledge as a PhD in this area has been invaluable for us to understand that technology. You need to find those people like him that one believes in your vision as a businessman, and then they're able to help you bridge that technology. So for me, that's the key factor. Seek the proper advice, support, listen to them, but as a businessman or woman, use your gut. If it makes sense, do it. If it doesn't make sense, don't do it.
Yes, I mean definitely. Gotta ask. You need to ask yourself a question. Do you really need a blockchain? Does the blockchain suits your business? So do the research. Don't go in the blockchain area just if it's a buzzword and everybody is doing it. See if it's really gonna fit your business model, because that's gonna affect your business in the future, definitely.
So in closing, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
I guess for me, again, the final thoughts, it's exciting. Stepping into a new realm of possibility is always exciting. I call it a realm of possibilities because it's what you create. And it's a fun space, it's an exciting space, it's a curious space. So I guess my closing remark would be, don't be afraid to dip your toe in the water. It's not as bad as all of that, and it's not as bad as all the scaremongering that a lot of people are doing. My view is I've had fun since coming into the space. I've seen and met a lot of amazing people that I probably would have not ordinarily have met. So don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Get involved.
Yeah, like you said.
If people were to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Well, again, we are a PLC on the Isle of Man. That's where our company headquarters is based, with offices in various parts in the U.S. and Serbia and other areas we're locating. But ultimately, to find out who we are is go to our ICO page, which is at creative3dweb.io. And there you have our white paper. We've created a presentation paper which goes away towards, I call it humanizing our technical white paper, because my man here wrote our technical white paper, and always technology people, I'm like, oh my God, this is thick, this is thick, this is thick. And then people just want to see a simple way of explaining and understanding. So we have both. That's on our site. So if you go to creative3dweb.io, everything is there for you to see and understand. In reference to talking about our use cases, they will be there. So that's probably the first point of contact, because all of our contact information is there.
Fantastic. Oh, you want?
Yeah. Also, you can follow us on our social channels.
Yeah.
Exactly. So #Creative3dweb, and all of the channels that we have on the website. So you can follow us there and you see how the ICO is going on.
Fantastic. Once again, thank you so much for your time. That was very informative, and I'm sure that our viewers will greatly benefit from it. So thank you very much.
Welcome.